Good morning. This is the March 20th, 2025 meeting of the Syracuse Regional Board of Review. This hearing is being held via video conference call, WebEx, at the following locations: Hughes State Office Building, Main Hearing Room, first floor, 333 East Washington Street, Syracuse, New York, 13202. The time is currently 9:45 and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are C. Thomas Parsons and Gail Swistak. My name is Jeffrey Hinderleiter, Chairman. From the Department of State is Hendrik Schenk and Tom Dutilio. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. For the members who are attendees who are on WebEx with multiple people, you will need to state your name each time you speak for the court reporter. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. All right. Do we want to take them in order or do we want to do the?
No, I think in order. We'll move to petition 2025-0065 first. Okay.
So the board is, we are going to hear the first petition that we'll hear is number 2025-0065. This hearing is in the matter of Wallace Lee.
Yes, my name is Wallace Lee. My address is 6910 197th Street, Fresh Meadows, New York, 1365. Calling pertaining 907 Bacon Street, Utica, New York. So I think Gerald Foster should be on this phone call with me. Gerald, are you there? Gerald?
He's the code enforcement of the city of Utica.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess the city
here that he is on.
He is on. Okay, so I was told that he would do most of the speaking, so I'm not sure if he's there or not.
It does not appear. It appears that he is not on the call right now.
Okay, understood. Okay, so then I guess I'll try to proceed. I'm not sure if I know most of the legal jargon, but so I'm filing this a variance only because I purchased a home about a year and a half ago. I requested building code and violations to make sure that everything was clear and passed. At that time, everything was passed and the house was good to go. All codes violations were remedied. But then this year, I guess new codes came out and they were asking for a few items to be corrected in the apartment, and only because, you know, I just purchased a home a year and a half ago. I feel like a lot of this stuff is going to be, you know, economic burden to me financially, and they were listed on page 3 of the variance, like description code. It was the cellar ceiling, inside cellar stairs, and entrance hallways. I was hoping to get variance for those 3 so that I wouldn't have to repair or remedy any of the items listed. I don't know what else to say now because this is my first time doing this and I thought Jerry was going to be there to help me guide through this.
Understood. So you're applying for a variance to the multiple residence law, which, you know, is applying to your structure based on its age. So, you know, this is a law that affects structures, you know, built in the 50s particularly. And
yes.
So what you have within the state code is where you have multiple requirements coming from the multiple resident law, but also we have requirements that are within the uniform code. They're 2 separate codes that are on the law books. And some of these variances when it comes to multiple residence law, we know that there are provisions within the building code that address a number of these concerns, but these are prescriptive code requirements in the multiple residence law. So your variance application, it is pretty common for the board to see. We usually see one or two of these every time we meet as we look at these older structures. And we approach them very much kind of from the same way, is that we have some conditions that we look at these structures in order to make what we feel would make the building equally as safe as under the uniform code. And we recognize that, for instance, putting some sort of gypsum board on the ceiling in the basement and the cellar is a hardship with all the ductwork and utilities and all those things that are in the way. We recognize that these are old structures that have stairways that find their way through buildings. There are multiple apartment units. And so what we typically do is, in looking at your pictures, looking at your structure, is we require that smoke alarms and heat detection devices that have to be hardwired in the structure, and they have to be installed as directed by the fire code official. 2 smoke alarm devices get provided in the cellar, and a smoke alarm shall be provided on every landing on the front and the exit stairways. And this will all be in writing for you as we go through this.
Okay.
That all these alarms then need to be interconnected so that if you get a fire anywhere in the building, it will let everybody else know that there's something wrong, because oftentimes in your unit, you may not know there's something going on outside.
Understood.
Yeah, so for the wainscoting and the combustible wall surfaces that are in your stairwell and like that, they either have to be removed, covered with wallboard, or painted with a fire-resistant film. The apartment doors need to be replaced with fire-rated doors and a closer or treated with fire retardant, again, working with your local fire department to come up with works. And then we generally do not allow storage then to happen in the unfinished basement areas, or laundry areas to be in the unfinished basement, areas. So as long as those conditions are met, then this is actually a pretty straightforward motion for us. Does that make sense?
Understood. And again, everything will be in writing and will be
Yes.
emailed to me, so I don't have to write out all this stuff down today.
Correct. You will get, once this is, if we have the motion and it's successful, one of the Department of Staff, state staff will follow up with you with the actual MRL, and it will have all those conditions in there. And then you will work with your local code office, your local fire marshal to satisfy all those things. Okay?
Okay. Excellent. How much time do we have to resolve these items?
It's up to.
That's going to be up to your local code, to Jerry working with you. That'll be up to him.
Okay, so then,
Other violations that this variance will not cover.
So we were provided a list of violations on the structure as part of this case. There are violations on it that are out of our purview as far as what your variance is for. Our variances are not going to address certain things that are within your violations, such as there's a drain cap that they had an order in there. This won't address all those violations. We are narrow in scope of just dealing with the MRL violations that are within that. So you will, again, work with Jerry and get that resolved on that side. Understood?
I understand. Just one quick thing. So in regards to, I guess the most economic burden item is that cellar ceiling. So with I guess adding in that interconnected smoke alarm, am I getting a variance to not have to cover the ceiling?
Correct. That is what the motion will do, is that you will be granted relief because of the economic impact that we will instead require these alarms and notification in lieu of having to put that work through that way.
Understood. And then my other question is, in regards to the doors, are you talking about only the basement door that the fire marshal was referring to, or are you talking about every single door?
So the apartment doors themselves that open up into the joint staircase, they have to be self-closing and meet, either be fire retardant or be replaced with a fire-rated door.
So it's only to the basement.
To the basement.
to the basement only, right?
Correct.
Okay, so there's only one door to the basement. So, okay, that he told me. And then in regards to that wainscoting thing, I'm just not familiar with it. There's like you said that you're supposed to paint it over with some fire resistant film. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so your options based on the proposal is that the wood material is removed. It's covered with 3/8 gypsum board or painted with a fire resistant film. We call that an intumescent paint. Or there's other retardant products that can be a coating on top of that to increase their fire resistance. So either you have to increase the fire resistance of the materials that are there or remove and replace them.
Okay, so just to clear, to understand what you're saying, instead of removing all the panels, I just paint it over, correct? With that fire resistant.
Yeah,
One option.
that's one
Okay.
option. Yes. Yep.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, yep. Then I think that was all we listed. Okay, and then that into the connected fire alarm, I've looked into that a slight bit. There's some Bluetooth fire smoke alarm detectors. Can I use those?
You'd have to
Work with your local code officer or with Jerry, because they're going to have to accept whatever you put in for interconnection. We're
Okay.
requiring that they have to be hardwired for power, and then they have to be interconnected, but that's all going to have to be to their acceptance. If he's willing to work with you on that, he'll let you know.
Okay, so Jerry's pretty much the one I need to speak to, but I do have that variance for, not having to replace the ceiling, basement ceiling.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
That's our justification, is that by doing these other safety features, it makes your building as safe as if it would have been to do that.
Understood.
Okay. Then do we have a motion?
I make a motion. Petition number 2025-0065. Upon the application of Wallace Lee, 69 through 10, 197th Street, Unit 2, Fresh Meadows, New York, and upon taking testimony and hearing arguments thereon at a duly noticed hearing before the Syracuse Regional Board of Review held via video conference call WebEx at the huge state office building, main hearing room, first floor, 333 East Washington Street, Syracuse, New York, 13202 on March 20th, 2025. And upon all other papers in this matter, the board makes the following determination. The petition pertains to an existing 3-family residence, 3,600 square feet, 3 stories in height, of type 5B wood frame, located at 907 Bacon Street, City of Utica, County of Oneida, State of New York. Relief is requested from Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York. Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 28, Stairs and Entrance Halls. In every such dwelling, 3 stories or more in height, the wood wainscoting and other combustible materials on the wall and ceiling surfaces in all halls shall be removed. In lieu of such removal, a sprinkler system may be installed, or such wainscoting and the combustible surfaces may be treated or covered with a surface fire retardant approved by the department. In such a dwelling, any entrance door and every door opening into an entrance hall, stair hall, or other public hall connected therein shall be self-closing. Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Law of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, cellar ceilings, which states that in every such dwelling, 3 stories or more in height, The ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retardant or be equipped with a speaker system unless such ceilings has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 31, inside cellar stairs. Excuse me. Every stair leading from the cellar to the floor above in all old multiple dwellings shall be enclosed with fire retardant partitions and shall be equipped with a fire retardant self-closing door located as the department may approve. The petitioner requests relief to provide smoke detectors in lieu of rated basement ceilings and to allow for modifications for the exposed wood in stair and corridors and exposed basement stair. The findings of facts. Number 1, the building that is the subject of this petition is properly classified under Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 1, Section 433, as a multiple dwelling. Number 2, the subject building is approximately 3,600 square feet in gross area, was originally constructed around 1930 and contains 3 dwelling units, having a dwelling unit on the first, second floor, and third floor, serviced by a stair at the front and rear of the building. Number 3, the subject building is required to conform with the provisions of Article 3 of the Multiple Residence Law as provided in Section 25, in that it existed on July 1st, 1952, or was converted to a multiple dwelling after July 1st, 1952, and is not a hotel or similar dwelling subject to Article 4 of the Multiple Residence Law. Number 4, Article 3, Section 28, stairs and entrance halls, requires that in every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height, the wood wainscoting and other combustible materials on the walls and ceiling surfaces in all halls shall be removed. In lieu of such removal, a sprinkler system may be installed, or such wainscoting and the combustible surfaces may be treated or covered with a surface fire retardant approved by the department. In such a dwelling, any entrance door and every door opening into an entrance hall, stair hall, or other public hall connected therewith shall be self-closing. The exposed wood, beadboards, sheathing be removed or covered with fire-rated gypsum board or treated with the fire retardant to the satisfaction of the local fire department. Number 5, Article 3, Section 28 of the Municipal Residential Law requires that the wood apartment doors be replaced with the fire-rated door and closure or treated with the fire retardant to the satisfaction of the local fire department with a door closure installed per requirements. Number 6, Article 3, Section 30 of the Multiple Residence Law requires in every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height and ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retardant or be equipped with the sprinkler system unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. Number 7, the lowest story cellar ceiling of the multiple family dwelling is not enclosed with fire retardant material and does not contain a sprinkler system, a fire in the cellar could easily spread throughout the building before it is noticed. There is mechanical system piping and electrical wiring along the ceiling of the unoccupied cellar, which would make installing a fire retardant ceiling very difficult. Number 8, Article 3, Section 31 of the Multiple Residence Law requires that every stair leading from the cellar to the floor above in all multiple dwellings shall be enclosed with fire retardant partitions and shall be equipped with fire retardant self-closing door located as the department may approve. The basement door shall be replaced with the fire-rated door and closure or treated with fire retardant to the satisfaction of the local fire department, and the wall be covered with fire-rated gypsum board. Number 9, the building previously has working smoke detectors in the basement, front and rear stairs, and each apartment has smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in the living room and bedroom. Number 10, the installation of smoke detectors, alarms that are interconnected to the stair smoke detectors will provide early notice of a possible fire event and notify the tenants. Number 11, the basement contains water heaters, heating equipment, and is otherwise not used for any tenant storage or laundry. Number 12, the petitioner stated that the building has been regularly inspected by the fire department and has passed every inspection. Number 13, the local code the local code official has been consulted in this matter and supports the granting of the variance under Part 1205. Number 14, the building shall otherwise comply with all other local and state building codes and local ordinances. In conclusion, the proposed variance will not substantially adversely affect the code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Strict compliance with the provisions of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties, economic hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would physically or legally impracticable and would be unnecessary in the light of alternatives, which without the loss in the level of safety, achieve the intended objectives of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 28, 30, and 31 be granted with the following conditions. Number 1, hardwired smoke alarms and heat detection devices shall be installed as directed. Number 2, 2 smoke alarm devices shall be provided in the cellar, and a smoke alarm shall be provided on each landing of the front and rear exit stairways. Number 3, that all the above noted smoke alarms shall be interconnected together. Number 4, that all woods, wainscoting, and combustible walls and ceiling surface materials, including the doors in the stairway and hallways, shall be either removed, covered with 3/8-inch gypsum board, or painted with fire retardant film, intumescent or similar retardant. Number 5, the apartment doors be replaced with a fire-rated door and closure or treated with fire retardant to the satisfaction of the fire department, with the door closure installed per requirements. Number 7, tenant storage shall not be allowed in the unfinished basement area. Sorry about the numbers, that was number 6. Number 7, tenant laundry area shall not be allowed in the unfinished basement. This decision is limited to the specific building and application before it, as contained within the petition, and shall not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of the application. Motion for negative declaration for short and EAF for Board of Review.
We should likely do that as a separate
Do it
motion.
separate?
Yeah, we'll do that as a
Okay.
second motion.
I so move.
Okay, then do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, poll the board, Ms. Swistak,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. So ordered. Do we have another motion?
I have another motion. For EAF. Number 1, that the Board of Review find the determination that the issuance of a variance in petition number 2025-0065 will not have a significant environmental impact and will not have a significant adverse effect on any significant fish or wildlife habitat, scenic resource of statewide significance, important agricultural land, or area included in an approved local waterfront revitalization program. And number 2, that the Department of the State be authorized to sign and deliver on behalf of the Board of Review and the Department of State, A, the State Environmental Quality Review Act short environmental assessment form indicating that no or small impact may occur in response to each question in part 2 of the form, and determining in part 3 of the form that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. I so move.
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Swistak,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
chair votes aye, motion carries. All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. Again, work with Mr. Foster at the City of Utica, and he will take care of you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I just ask one last question in regards to the laundry? In the event that, can I obtain a variance for that laundry, or laundry is a no-go since there's no cellar ceiling?
It's based on our motion, it is a no-go, because this is how we're achieving what we perceive as a equally safe building by eliminating the risks in the basement. It makes it so that it prevents an issue from happening. So,
Understood.
yep.
Okay, I
Thank you.
understand.
All right,
Thank you,
we will
guys.
now, yep, have a good day. We will now hear petition number 2025-127. The hearing is in the matter of the Fulton House. Again, whoever is speaking, we'll start with the applicant. Please state your name, your title, and your legal address for the court reporter.
Good morning. My name is John Bailey. My wife and I are the owner-operators of the Fulton House. The building in question is the main house tower. Our official address is in the town of Old Forge. It's 309 Greenbridge Road. It's either going to be under Fendera or Old Forge, New York, 13420. The property address is 200 Fulton House Way, P.O. Box 244, Old Forge, New York, 13420. It's important to note that any mailing must go to P.O. Box 244. So I'm not sure how you would like me to proceed. I know that you've all received the material regarding our petition for a variance. My idea was that I would give you a descriptive of all the floors of said tower and how it relates to the main house, the connections to the main house. And then if necessary, we could circle back and discuss any of the main house. Is that appropriate?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got, thanks to Hendrik Schenk, you have the materials that we sent into you with the application. I asked you to, if you can, I asked you to look at Exhibit 2, page 1, and in addition to that, a series of pictures labeled pages 1 through 12, I believe, and 2 floor plans. There's some feedback with your speakers. I don't know if you can turn that down. So I'm kind of talking loud. That sounds good. So I've got, in addition to that, I have made some building floor plans for the tower main house, first floor and second floor. So what I'd like to do is start with that Exhibit 2, page 1, which was put together by an engineer by the name of Bolter Consultants in Utica. And I'd like to show you the relationship between the first floor of the tower and the main house. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner of that Exhibit 2, page 1, you'll see the first floor of the main of the tower. And you'll, on my page, on my first floor of the main house building plans, you'll see the tower, the lower part of that picture. So you can see the relationship. We got a lot of feedback here.
We're gonna,
Hendrik, can you turn down their volume a little bit because it's feeding back through? I don't know why.
I can turn it down on our end.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I hope that's not inappropriate. Okay, so if you look at the lower part of the picture of diagram, you can't hear?
we can mute our line. We'll just.
Can you hear? I guess we'll deal with the feedback. We'll just deal with it.
You can hear us at the moment? You can hear me?
I'll just talk loud.
All right. We can mute our line, just we'll unmute to talk.
The first floor of the building plans of the main house, you'll see the tower at the bottom here. And then Exhibit 2, page 1, you'll see the tower at the first floor of the tower in the upper left-hand corner. So what I'm trying to present here is the relationship between the tower and the main house at each level. And you'll see that the tower has an exterior form of egress with a 36-inch steel door that leads to a set of steps that are about 2 feet off of grade. This floor of the tower, if you look at the first page of the pictures, you will see that it's a storage area that both leads to the exterior of the building and it leads to the first floor of the main house vis-a-vis the kitchen. And you can see from the picture that it is a storage area, and you can see that it has sheetrock on the walls. In this case, I believe the ceiling is 5/8 sheetrocks and the walls are all 1/2 inch. But at a minimum, there's a 1/2 inch of sheetrock or gypsum board, as you call it. And that is the first floor of the tower. There is no other staircase or anything on that first floor. It just has an entryway into the main house. You can see it in the left side of that picture, or you can see the exterior 36-inch door to the outside. So that's the first one. Now, if we go to the second floor of the main house, I'll use my building plan. You'll see that the second floor looks, from the picture, looks like that. It's currently a bedroom, and it has a doorway, a 30-inch doorway that leads to a small hallway that leads to a set of stairs down to the kitchen. Those stairs, I believe, are 34 inches wide. And that hallway also has an exterior window 12 to 14 feet off of grade, and it is code compliant. So that's the second floor of And this room also has a bathroom that you can't see in the picture. It's just behind where I've taken the picture. And there are no other forms of egress. So that's the second floor. You can see that on the planning, the diagram that I've presented there. The third floor of the tower, which at one time was living quarters for our family years ago, you can see that on the, where is it? Here. On the building plan, it's the upper, of Exhibit 2, page 1, it's on the upper right side. And you can see that from pictures 3 and 4. 3, 4, and I think I've got a couple other pictures of that floor that I'll present in a second. But if you look at the Exhibit 2, page 1, you can see that has a steel walkway, a freestanding steel walkway that in no way is attached to the building. It's freestanding, stands alone, that acts as the exterior form of egress there. Currently, there is no other means to access the main house. It is a two-family dwelling with a staircase that leads up to the 4th floor and the loft floors. So it also, you can see from looking at that, if you just square off that diagram, you'll see that the tower then connects there to the main house. And page 4, you can see from that picture, we're actually in the attic of the main house on picture 4, which was the kitchen. It is also shown in a couple other pictures that I provided. I hope I have them right here. I don't have them, but you have them. And those pictures show other parts of that 3rd floor that are part of the main house, vis-a-vis storage areas, sort of attic type storage areas. I know you have them because I presented them to Hendrik yesterday evening. So that's the 3rd floor. The 4th floor, which you'll see in the lower left-hand corner of Exhibit 2, page 1, with that spiral staircase leading up from the 3rd floor. That page, pictures, page 5 and 6 are pictures of the 4th floor of the tower. At one time, now you see a bed in each one of them. They're really just storage. This building hasn't been used in a number of years. But at one time, this was a den for us, this picture where you see a bed, and this was a bedroom. So that's the 4th floor. There is no other connection to another form of egress other than that spiral staircase. Page 7 was the loft of that, and you can see that with picture number 7. That has, again, it's an empty storage space, and it has a closet. If you look at pictures 9 and 10, you can get some outside views of angles of the tower and how it relates to the main house. Okay, so before I go on, I'd like, if you've got questions related to any of the levels of the tower, I'd be glad to answer them now. Otherwise, I'll move on and give you a perspective on what our hope for the future is in terms of making this a single-family dwelling and making some changes so that perhaps we get a variance. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I think they're trying to unmute themselves.
How about now?
You're good now.
Okay. I have a question about just the horizontal separation between the second floor and the third floor as it currently is. The proposed plans, what it shows that there's no connection. Is that a clean, or I should say like a true horizontal separation between the second floor and the third floor? I know in your proposed plans, you're looking at introducing a stairway, but the existing condition, or are there penetrations, combined heat system, things like that, that currently have it connected? Did you hear us? Did you hear us?
They muted us, I think.
All right. So the town of Webb, can you hear us?
Are we, our sound on our end?
Mr. Bailey? I don't,
They can come and present.
I'm gonna call him real quick.
all right.
We're
Do you
gonna
guys-
say-
We have sound now.
At this point, I can't, he's presenting stuff there, we can't see him. I can't make a decision based on this connection.
Yeah, the
So-
connection,
Request somebody come here.
just so you know, the connection is really bad because when you go and unmute yourself, you're doing that through the deliberation room and not the hearing room. So you kind of cross,
Can I attempt to try to do this again? See, we got sound now.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yep.
You can.
Can I attempt to do this again? I have a limited amount of time, and trying to redo this for like April meeting would be problematic for us. So we're trying to accomplish this today if at all possible.
Well, I don't think I can make a decision based on how it's being presented today.
Well, can we try again though? Give it a shot? Maybe we,
Yeah, I'm fine with it if we.
You can try.
okay.
I'm just telling you right now, I'm not comfortable understanding what.
I'm fine if you want to make a motion to table to figure something else out.
I don't know.
We only have 3 board members present today, so we would need a unanimous decision
Right.
to decide either way.
Yeah, this is just difficult to his drawings and what he's explaining.
see what he's showing.
Right.
I thought, I was under the understanding that you had all this material in front of you.
Yeah, but you're explaining stuff and not giving us enough description your drawings are a little cryptic. So we're trying to interpret your drawings and you're showing us stuff that we can't see what you're explaining.
Okay, well,
So it's difficult for me.
let's just try to give it a shot, please. Would that be all right? Just give it a shot one more time?
Give him 15 minutes and see if we can make height.
Thank you.
Okay, please continue. I had asked a question about the fire separation or the horizontal separation between the second and third floor that you're proposing to cut through and to add a staircase. I had asked the question about if that was a full horizontal separation or do you have penetrations for mechanical systems, et cetera, that would continue through the building?
No.
Is it a single heat system or?
No, mechanical separation is complete. So any bathroom, for example, any heat, all that's going to be disconnected. There will be nothing above the third floor. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was asking the existing structure first, if there are penetrations through the second floor into the third floor, because right now, from my understanding of your drawings and explanation, is that the current third story has no connection to the stories below it. Is that a true statement?
Yes, that is correct.
So as it stands, you're proposing then to incorporate your third story into the lower structure and then make the fourth and fifth It's essentially an attic, a
That-
two-story attic.
That is correct. So let me just go right to that. I was trying to explain the whole tower first, but let's go right to what we're trying to accomplish. What we would like to
It's
do,
probably could cover it.
am I all right to speak?
Yep, please
Okay.
continue.
What I'd like to do is remove the entire spiral staircase. Goes from the third floor of the tower to the loft. There are 2 levels of it. Remove it completely. Close off the box from the third floor to the fourth floor. So there's no penetration whatsoever from the third floor to the fourth floor, but for a pull-down attic staircase, which is in the drawing provided. Yeah, on Exhibit 2, page 2, you can see that penetration from the third floor to the fourth floor, as well as a code compliant staircase that leads from the third floor to the second floor. That would be the way to connect the 2 buildings to the third floor attic space, or the tower attic space. Are you with me so far?
I have a question.
Sure.
Mr. Parsons has a question.
Yes.
When was the main house constructed originally?
1894.
And when was the tower constructed?
1988, 89, originally.
Okay. Was it done on a building permit?
Yes.
And then you got a variance?
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. Oh, let me walk you through the history, Mr. Carson. So we purchased the property in 1995. Our predecessor initially permitted and started building the tower, never finished it. We finished it.
Okay,
We had permits all along to finish the tower.
okay,
Arguably that should not have happened, but it did. And so we find ourselves a number of years later when we finally got, a stringent codes office under Andy Getty. At that time, in around the 2005, 2006 period, he and I sat down and he said, look, we got to do something about this. And we came up with this plan. Now, unfortunately, at the time I was going through cancer therapy, and it was a really rough time for me. And that variance plan was, at the time, seemed to make sense, but had clear heads prevailed at the time, I think we would have looked towards this as a better alternative. Because while we were living in the tower at that time, we were planning to move out shortly after that. We moved into town, in 2008.
okay,
And so the tower was obsolete. That fourth floor loft area, as we call it, were no longer necessary for any kind of human use. And it's really pretty much been used as storage ever since.
okay, I have a question, so we don't have to go back and cover too much detail.
Yeah.
I want to point you to the recent drawing we received, which is called second floor main house.
Yes.
There looks like Tower 2, which I assume that's the second floor. Tower 2 wraps around the main house. Is that correct?
Yes. If you look at that, and then you've got.
No, I just asked him a question. It's kind of yes or no. I want to keep the hearing moving.
Okay.
So there's a set of stairs, it looks like, between the hall and the bathroom. Where do those stairs lead to?
The hall and the bath. Oh, that's the back staircase that leads down into the kitchen. And I unfortunately, you're right. I see that I didn't put that into the kitchen drawing on the first floor. But those stairs lead to that kitchen on the first floor of the main house.
Okay, that's helpful.
I apologize for that.
Yep. And is there on the second floor of the main house, you're connecting the main house second floor to the tower of the second floor? Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. So currently, the second floor is a bedroom that was used as part of the main house rental. Main house is rented in the summer. And that second floor, Tower 2 there, that is connected vis-a-vis that little hallway, which leads to that back staircase.
And also leads into the main house.
Yeah, it also leads into the rest of the main house.
Okay, so there is a connection between the main house and the tower.
Yes.
Yeah, on the second floor. On the first and second floors, there is a
Yep.
connection to the main house.
Okay, all right, that's what these are the reasons why I asked for the drawings of the main house, is to understand the connectivity
Sure.
between these two structures.
Understood.
Now, going back to the building permit, was the tower constructed as a separate building, or was it constructed as an addition to the main house?
I would say an addition.
I don't know the formal answer to that. It's always been,
I believe it's an addition. We have all the old paperwork right here.
Okay,
Please state your name, address, and title for the court reporter.
My name is John Williams. I live at 3230 State Route 28, Old Forge, and I'm one of the code enforcement officers.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure we technically understand what we're dealing with as far as structures. I know we have two structures, but is it a main house, the original structure, and then the tower was built as an addition, or was it built?
It's written as an addition to existing residence.
Okay, all right, so we're dealing with an addition, not, all right, that's helpful, thank you. Let's see. You are gonna remove the spiral staircase all the way through?
here's what we would like to do.
Just answer what moving the spiral staircase from one
Okay,
level.
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so you're asking, that, what we're trying to accomplish, this is by Boulder Consultants, idea, the engineer, is to remove the entire staircase, then close off the box, and then put the upper part of that staircase back, so that we have a means to get from the fourth floor to the attic storage area.
Okay,
By eliminating any real access, we're just gonna have a pull-down attic staircase from the third floor to the fourth floor.
okay, I get that. So the spiral staircase in the tower is going to be eliminated in so much it will not connect the first, the second, and the third floor. Is that correct?
Well, there currently is no spiral staircase on the first, second floors. It's just from the third floor to the fourth floor. That's the only.
Oh, okay,
That's the bridge exit right
I'm
there.
sorry, I'm confused. I just realized that's the third floor. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah,
All right.
so we'll eliminate that staircase and put a code compliant staircase from the third floor to the second floor.
Okay. All right, I didn't like the spiral staircase as far as the next thing, but now that I understand what you're doing, that,
Attic floors.
okay. Proposed fifth floor. Proposed third floor. What type of fire protection do you have in this building right now?
It's all sheetrock, minimum of 1/2 inch. In some places, the ceilings have 5/8.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Fire detection. What do you have in the building now?
We have a partial interconnected. We're going to continue with full interconnected all throughout the main house tower, and fire extinguishers.
Okay. Are the stairs that are constructed in the main house and the tower, with the exception of spiral, do they meet the residential standard for stair construction?
So if you'll look at the picture of page 11 of the pictures that I provided, that is the front staircase of the main house. That is a 35 inch, this was built many, many years ago, but it's close.
Okay,
35 inches. I mean, as I said, the back staircase is, I think, 34 inches.
okay,
So there are 2 staircases from the second floor of the main house to the first floor of the main house.
okay.
The previous variance stated that a 13D fire system was going to be installed. Was a fire sprinkler system installed throughout the structure?
No, and that got very complicated, and that's one of the reasons I'm looking to get some relief. That was principally because we had the fourth and fifth floors or loft floors of the tower. By going back to the third floor, we're really going back to the attic of the main house. And it's complicated in so much as this is a very seasonal property. But not only do you have to install all this stuff, but now you have to manage it. And that means in the fall, you have to take all the heads out and blow out with a compressor all the lines so nothing freezes. So it's kind of complicated. And what our idea is, go back to the third floors, which is really the attic of the main house, put in finish the interconnected smoke detection, and have appropriate commercial fire extinguishers with these forms of egress and all the sheetrock we have. We thought that would be sufficient to accommodate this circumstance.
Okay, I don't have any more questions. I think I understand where we're at.
Okay.
Will the pull-down folding stairs be rated stairs? And
We never got into any kind of rating, but if that's what you require, what do you mean by rated? I'm not.
Has to more do with making sure that they're air sealed, et cetera, because that'll be that's a horizontal penetration. This is a residential structure, so it may not bear out. So why don't we have the code official is present?
Yes.
Would you give your opinion on the case and history of the case as you know it? What they're trying to do?
My name's John Williams. I'm one of the code enforcement officers. I'm relatively new in the office, so I don't have a whole lot of the history, just what's in the file. One of the things that helps is the fact that there is that set of steel stairs that leads right to grade from the third floor. It's the fact that it was ever permitted, that is questionable how that ever came about, but it was. And this seems like a logical solution on our side to eliminate the use of the fourth and the fifth floor. As far as the interconnected smoke detection system, that's something we spoke about. It's all kind of relative to how the variance goes, how you want to handle the smoke detection system, and we can make sure that happens.
I know that your intent is, I know there's an intent to isolate the fourth and fifth floor and to use it as an attic space. It doesn't necessarily have to be an attic space. It could be a non-sleeping unit space, so that you could, if you want to look out the windows or something, or have a desk or something up there, I think that would be acceptable under the code without the requirement of a sprinkler system. So I guess I'm kind of wondering, if you had an appropriate stair going from the third to the fourth floor, would you want to reclaim the fourth floor for non-sleeping space usage, or don't you care?
Well, let's put it this way. My wife and I have owned the property. This is John Bailey. My wife and I owned the property for 30 years. We're hoping to sell the property in the near future. Whatever a new owner wants to do, it's acceptable to the state. That's fine with me. Really, we like the idea of separation. If they wanted to get another variance to move up to the fourth floor, that would be fine by us. If it's okay with the state. But then again, you might be asking for a sprinkler system. We're trying to avoid that because it just complicates an otherwise what we think is a fairly elegant solution. If you are not requiring that, I guess my concern would be town's liability, because the town permitted something that perhaps should not have been permitted, and we're just trying to, make a good solution for the state, the town, and the homeowner. And we thought that this was a fairly safe, fairly acceptable solution. A new owner might come along and then be able to discuss it with you folks further. And you could then say, okay, we might be willing to allow you to do that, but we might want some further mitigation. I don't know. I'm not trying to make, I'm just trying to.
Well, I think I'm fine with providing whatever you want. Human nature will look at something and they may not go through the proper legal channels to make something happen. But if it was something put in legally, the fifth floor can't be, I mean, that's clearly an attic space. I'm just trying to look at the fourth floor.
Sure.
Could the fourth floor be used as a space, non-sleeping area space, without the requirement of having a sprinkler system in? I believe the answer is true. So I would leave that up to the local code enforcement official. I'm interested in making sure the variance is worded such that we only restricted what we needed to do to make this building code compliant.
Understood.
Okay.
Can I ask?
What the code enforcement official does and how they enforce it, that's really up to them. We're just trying to address the non-conformance issue, which is you have a habitable area with sleeping spaces above the second floor without direct means of egress. And your third floor obviously can, you've got a walkway that takes you, it's a walkway to essentially a level grade, which is
Non-combustible.
Non-combustible, yeah. So I mean, to recognize that as, part of its compliance. And that's the other thing, is that will be maintained. That has to be maintained for anything we grant. So, there becomes a day when that bridge is no longer structurally sound or needs repair, because it will cost money to do that.
Right.
I don't want it to think that the code enforcement official would think that it's not a required exit. We're going to make it as part of a required exit, I think, as part of this variance.
Understood.
Okay?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right. Do you have any questions? I'm sorry, I don't have any more questions.
Well, I share a concern because we did, as part of the 2020 code, we did incorporate certain things about habitable attics, not necessarily, I think by definition, a habitable attic includes occupation. I have to verify that.
But it was constructed at a time when this wasn't code. So it would be I wouldn't talk about that. We may not be able to do it, but I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, and
okay.
Certainly we have some changes coming in the proposed codes, but we're not regulating those yet.
I have no questions. I think I know how to decide.
Okay, would anybody else in this case like to speak? If not, the board is going to move into the deliberation, and we will probably come back in about 15 minutes or so.
Okay, I just would like, this is John again. I'm a bus driver and I've got to leave for a bus run. But my wife will be here and obviously the codes officer will be here. And I just want to thank you, all three of you, for taking the time to hear our case.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're off the record. Okay. Do we want any dialogue before we have a motion, or just?
I'll just read it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make the following motion. In regards to petition number 2025-0127, the petition pertains to the Bolton House. And in addition, alteration, change of occupancy to an existing building from mixed occupancy groups R1 and R3 to an occupancy group R3. The existing building is of type 5B construction, wood frame, unprotected, 5 stories in height, contains approximately 5,000 square feet in gross floor area, located at 200 Fulton House Way, Town of Webb, County of Herkimer, State of New York. Petitioner seeks relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 504.4, which states that the maximum number of stories of a building shall not exceed the limits specified in Table 504.4 without a fire sprinkler system installed under Section 903.3.1.1 or 903.3.1.2. Petitioners also seeks relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 1006.2.1, which states 2 exits or exit access doorways from any space shall be provided where the design occupant load or the common path of egress travel exceeds the values listed in Table 1006.2.1. Sorry. Waiting. In accordance with Part 5 of the applicant of the variance, the petitioner proposes to argue that the strict adherence to the provisions of the 2020 Building Code of New York State would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, and would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive and would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which without a loss in the safety achieve the intended objectives. In the findings of facts, 1, the subject of this petition pertains to an addition, alteration, change of occupancy to an existing building from mixed occupancy groups R1 and R3 to an occupancy group R3. The existing building is of type 5B construction, wood frame, unprotected, 5 stories in height, containing approximately 5,000 square feet gross area, located at 200 Fulton House Way, Town of Webb, County of Herkimer, State of New York. The proposed change of occupancy includes work to the 5-story tower portion of the building that would change the 4th and 5th floor stories to accessory storage spaces, limit access to the 4th and 5th stories by removing spiral staircase from the 3rd to the 4th story and replace it with a pull-down stair, remove any plumbing fixtures located on the 4th and 5th stories, install an interconnected fire alarm system compliant with NFPA 72 in all 5 stories of the tower, and renovate the 2nd and 3rd stories of the tower so they will not have any sleeping rooms, and install a new code-compliant stairway from the 2nd to 3rd floor of the tower. 3, section 1102.1 of the 2020 existing building code of New York State states that an addition shall not increase the height of an existing building beyond that permitted under the applicable provisions of Chapter 5 of the Building Code of New York State for new buildings. 4, section and table 504.4 of the Building Code of New York State specifies a building of type 5B construction containing a group R3 occupancy without automatic sprinkler system are allowed to be 3 stories maximum above grade plane, and the same building equipped throughout with an automatic sprinkler system in accordance with 903.3.1.1 or section 903.3.1.2 is allowed to be 4 stories maximum above grade. The existing building without sprinkler system is 2 stories taller than the maximum allowable stories above grade plane requirements in section and table 504.4 of the 2020 Building Code of New York State. Petitioner submitted a cost estimate provided in Exhibit 4 dated May of 2004, showing that the estimated cost to remove the upper 2 stories of the tower, construct a new roof system would be approximately $262,000. Petitioner states that this cost would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden. The subject building has a variance from 9 NYCRR 1994 Uniform Code Section 705.2B, 713.1A, and 714.1A, see Exhibit 6 and 7, for the subject building. However, the following conditions of variance were not completed: installation of an NFPA 13D sprinkler system, conversion of the fifth story to non-habitable space, and installation of a non-combustible exterior stair from the fourth story down to grade. The local code enforcement official has been consulted in this matter and supports the granting of the variance. Strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, and would be otherwise be unwarranted, because such would create an excessive, unreasonable economic burden and would be physical or legally impracticable, and would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss of level of safety, achieve the intended objectives of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance 19 NYCR R 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York, section 504.4 and section 1006 point second here. 0.2.1. Bear with me. Is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. 1, the fifth stories will be changed to an uninhabitable attic. 2, the fifth story will have all finishes removed, eliminating the potential use for occupied space. 3, the spiral stairway from the third to the fifth story will be removed and replaced with a pull-down stairway or open stair in compliance with the residential code of New York State from the third to the fourth story. And 4, access between the fourth story and the fifth story will be limited to a hatchway without stairs. 5, any plumbing fixtures on the fourth and fifth stories will be removed. 6, an interconnected fire alarm system compliant with NFPA 72 will be installed on all stories of the tower and main house. 7, the second and third stories of the tower will not have sleeping rooms. 8, the new stairway from the second to the third story of the tower will be installed. And 9, that all other aspects of this building construction will be incorporated with applicable codes, rules, and regulations. So move. And I so move.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll poll the board. Ms. Swistek?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Variance is granted. This decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. This hearing is now concluded. So to give you some explanation, ma'am, in what we were looking at is, you know, we see the trajectory of this approval as what we call an R3 in the building code. And R3s are, once they're 4 stories, they normally need sprinkler systems. And so we are granting the variance to treat it without that sprinkler system. The part that we wrestled with was how to treat the 5th story. And so following in line with the previous variance, but also our concerns was that we want to make that 5th story to be truly an attic and not something that can be used for living space going forward. And so eliminating any sort of connection other than a hatchway, which is for maintenance access and for monitoring, is how we're going to achieve that. We're going to, we're requiring the sheetrock to come off, so it's not a finished space anymore, and it will just be accessed via a hatchway. We also then, as we looked at the 4th story, we recognized that the additional section that we gave a variance for in section 1006, that would have required 2 exits from the 4th story if it was used for anything. And so we granted a variance to that essentially because you have the the non-combustible exit on the third story that gets you to grade, it allows that story to exist as long as we granted a variance essentially on the sprinkler system. And so looking at your drawings, you have the 125-foot egress distance. You're less than that. And so, but in order to use that space, really, this is where one of our conditions is. We gave you what you requested, which was to do a pull-down hatch. But if that space was to be used and occupied, and a regular staircase, a regular egress staircase would have to be put in compliant with the residential code, is how we have that written. And so it leaves a little bit of flexibility for you if you want to recapture that space. But we really weren't, that spiral staircase, we're going to want that gone. So the fourth, if you're going to treat it as storage, that's going to have a pull down, but it can be occupied as long as it has a regular stairway put in for egress. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that will all be written down and you'll receive a copy of that along with the local code enforcer. If there are questions, feel free to reach out to the Department of State staff and they can help clarify our intentions and what that is. But thank you for your patience. It took us a little longer to deliberate as we were wrapping our mind around your unique structure.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate your time. Thank you very, very much.
Okay. We'll now hear petition number 2025-0108 in the matter of JVQ of JVQOF LLC.
Yeah, good morning. Oh, yeah, good morning still. Mike LaSalle, MBL Engineering on behalf of JVQOV, address 16510 Balch Place, Mansville, New York, 13661. Yeah, I'll give a quick overview. I don't know, one quick question. Do you guys have the ability, are you seeing a screen if I wanted to share something? Nothing critical, but I thought it might be easier if I did share stuff, but not critical.
It definitely would be easier than holding up paper or if you're able to show, if we were able to.
I will do that if anything comes to mind that makes sense while we're talking, but what we have is an existing, I'm just going to share the screen now just to make it a little bit more streamlined. Let me get moving here. Okay, so that's good news. So what we have is an existing building that was existing tackle shop, hotel, and apartments were all kind of included in the existing facility. And it was built around the 1940s, around 9,500 square feet. I would say it's been about 8 years. It has been uninhabited with the previous tackle shop and the hotel and apartments. But it is 3 stories, as you see in this quick, just a Google image that we're looking at. Abuts up to existing bridge abutments, the Salmon River, and it's the US Route 11 kind of wraps around the building. That's the existing facility. What we've done, it's been actually almost 3 years now. We were able to apply for a New York Main Street grant to restore the building and rehabilitate the building as it stands. So in other words, no end user defined, but to get the building ready again for use with this grant to kind of actually as a New York Main Street as a anchor project for the village. So we went through that process. We were awarded the grant. We've been working through a lot of the other environmental issues in the past few years. And now we are at this final last step where we are seeking a variance on the relief from the 2 feet freeboard above base flood elevation and the flood proofing up to flood elevation of the building. So that's what we're here for today. And in our exhibit B that I just kind of looked at the quick Google Earth, but exhibit B shows this building is on the corner, very tight property lines. The property line does go to the Salmon River, center of it, and then rides along the existing sidewalk. Exhibit B2 is just an architectural rendering package showing the proposed building, the thoughts of the proposed building, what it's going to look like, and then it has some additional floor plans and stuff in there of of the demolition that's going to occur in the foundation restoration that's really needed for the building. So with that said, our main issues with trying to meet code section 1612.3.1.1 and raising the first floor to 2 feet above base flood is the access to the building itself from the existing street level would become very challenging. The building currently already has a few steps up into the building, and I'll show this photo here. The existing blue line is kind of somewhat representing the flood elevation, the base flood elevation. You can see here, there's actually 3 steps into the building now. This is the first step you're seeing at 3 door locations. Previously 2 retail stores. You can see 1 retail store here, access to the apartments in the center, 1 retail store here. The retail stores were connected internally as well. So that was one of our major problems, is trying to figure out how to get access to the building. If we were to lift the floor up over 2 feet. And then the second thing would be, obviously, there is not enough clearance in the first level to gain that much elevation. So you would be changing the entire balloon framing of the building, which would be very cost ineffective, and it wouldn't be worthy of the restoration at that point. So what we're looking to do is ask for a variance to bring our first floor to flood elevation. It ranges a little bit. The floor in this back area is a little bit it's higher. It's actually at flood versus the front. We're going to try to level those floors out and bring those up, but it ranges anywhere from 6 to 14 inches of floor change on the first floor, which we would do using it's a balloon frame building, so there's supports that go all the way to the roof. We would just lift that, redo the first floor completely, lift it up to the flood elevation, and then we were able to make a ramp for ADA accessibility and some stairs to get access to that first floor at flood. The second part of that would be in the basement, which this is a good picture from the riverbed, Salmon River, the bridge abutments on the left, looking at the back of the building. Currently today, when the river floods, or either at a high gauge station, at a high gauge elevation, it is able to enter the building and exit the building. There's just a couple doorways that actually blow open. The previous building had its heating equipment in the basement, but what we're proposing is that all of our utilities and heating equipment and HVAC will be still 2 feet above flood. So we will elevate that in the building. So the utilities will be above, meeting New York State and FEMA requirements. Again, just the first floor is the one that will be at flood. The other thing we will be doing is adding flood vents to this building to really get the building to allow the water to come in and leave, to help stabilize the building and keep that flood moving in and out as it tries to today. But we're going to do it in a lot better situation. We're going to everything in the basement will be removed. HVAC, it'll just be a concrete slab with flood vents, so the water can come in and leave as it's needed to do so. The problem with us trying to waterproof and trying to seal this basement off and waterproof it up to elevation, or even 2 feet above elevation, we start to have an issue with hydraulic loadings on this building that never received that before. In other words, you would have no equilibrium between the foundation wall and the stack of this building, and we have concerns about that to be able to handle that kind of hydraulic loading with the river without just letting it do what it did before, come in and out. So that's kind of really what our exhibit B, or exhibit C, the reasons kind of outlined. In summary, quickly, would be the stability of floodproofing, the accessibility of raising the floor upwards of 30 inches, and then the cost to raise the floor that much would prohibit us from using the second and third floor, and the whole building would have to be pretty much reconstructed at that point. That's a quick summary of everything, and I think that really concludes my quick presentation. And if you guys have specific questions, we can jump around and I can show you photos, whatever you might need to see.
I have one question. The floodplain maps that you're using, are these the old ones, or are they reflective of the revised floodplains maps?
revised, I think I'll have the date right here. Yeah, 2013, June 18, 2013. These ones were not updated. Some of the area was updated in 2019 or 2020, somewhere recent. But these ones were not updated that time. These are the recent ones on the FEMA website, which is 2013.
Are there new draft maps that have been proposed for this area?
Not that I know of or have seen, no.
Okay.
The lakeside communities, we did a draft update because of coastal flooding, wave-driven flooding, that we did have an interim update.
Yep.
And I know that some of the streams and rivers that near to the coastline than this municipality had to update theirs.
Ours are getting updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were,
We've already seen drafts of our.
Mhm.
yeah, and I didn't really talk about the location, but obviously where the village of Pulaski is compared to the lake, there was a lot of changes down on the lakefront, which is what I'm showing here, kind of circling with my hand. And this is the Salmon River all the way up to the village of Pulaski, which we, at that point, I don't think have any influence of the lake levels on the tailwater side of the river.
Have you been in consultation with their local floodplain administrator?
Yep, John Holland has been very heavily involved since the beginning, walking through the building, figuring out how we can stabilize this thing with our structural guys and the structural contractor. Mr. Schenk and John, I think, had a conversation as well prior to this hearing. So yeah, he's been very much involved and agrees with what we're going towards in terms of getting the building to a level that was much, much better than it was ever before, but also getting all the utilities out, meeting code 2 feet above base flood elevation. The only thing we're dealing with is that lower retail space, and that would be at flood. And the flood elevation is a little weird in there. It's because the bridge is really backing up the water. The existing restaurant in the area that was recently built that had to meet the new flood is across the street. It's higher than us. It's just a weird tailwater there that's happening at that bridge. But from my understanding, and since the building was built, almost 90 years ago, the water gets into the basement, but it's that bridge is not causing it to flood up there because it's able to go down the road if it ever were to get that high. So.
Do you know the historic status of the building? Is it eligible to be listed? Is it listed? I know that you have a letter was submitted from SHPO, which is more, I think, the impacts that they're looking, you know what I mean?
Yep. So all we have now is obviously SHPO saying what we're doing to the building is okay. It's not a listed building. What we do have though is there is a local historical district in the village of Pulaski. It's not a volunteer district, but you can add buildings to it. So in the village of Pulaski, you have all these buildings in this area at the main center are part of a local approved historic district. Speaking with the mayor, she wants to put some of these other buildings in the district. So we're hoping to put this one in. Obviously, the building was purchased back in 2018, and we haven't not done that yet, but the previous owners did not obviously put it in there. But our hope is that we can make this part of the historical district that exists in the village of Pulaski. So referring to the exemption, I think is in Appendix G. It is not a listed historic building as of right now.
Okay.
Locally or through the Historic Preservation Office.
Any thoughts or questions? And I know, Mike, that you're aware of this, but you do know that there's likely additional variances needed from the local government, not just us. Yep. Their floodplain, they have their own, just similar as I do in my municipality.
Exactly. Yeah. And we did just a little bit more background. We did have a meeting with the DEC as well, with John Holland and the DEC, going through the flood requirements and their local floodplain administrator rules. So everybody seems to be on board with that. And once we get through this state level code issue.
Okay. And the code enforcement officers in support of the granting of the variance?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Swistek, any questions on your part or any?
No.
None? All right, is there anybody else on that's going to speak?
No, it should
I
not be.
think so. All right. And without that, we'll deliberate briefly and we'll be back.
Okay. Thank you,
About
guys.
like probably 10 minutes or so.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we're off the record. Okay. I would like to make the following motion in the matter of case 2025-0108. The petition pertains to an alteration of an existing building mixed occupancy groups MB and R2. The existing building is of type 5B construction, wood frame, unprotected, 3 stories in height, containing approximately 9,516 square feet of gross floor area, located at 4817 through 19 Salina Street, Village of Pulaski, County of Oswego, State of New York. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 1612.3.1.1, which states the design flood elevation for the design and construction of buildings and structures shall be determined in accordance with sections 1612.3 through 1612.3.1 as applicable, plus a freeboard of 2 feet, 610 millimeters. The board makes the following findings of fact. 1, the subject of this petition pertains to an alteration of an existing building, mixed occupancy groups MB and R2. The building is of type 5B construction, wood frame unprotected, 3 stories in height, containing approximately 9,516 square feet of gross floor area, located at 4817 through 19 Salina Street, Village of Pulaski, County of Oswego, State of New York. 2, the proposed alteration exceeds 50% of the market value of the existing building, which triggers the design flood elevation requirements for new construction in the 2020 Building Code of New York State. 3, the existing first floor's elevation of 349.8 feet is just below the 100-year flood elevation of approximately 351 feet. 4, the petitioner is requesting a variance to allow the first floor to be brought up to the 100-year flood elevation. 5, the petitioner's exhibits state that bringing the first floor up to the 100-year flood elevation would comply with the floodplain design measures required by FEMA, the floodplain design measures in accordance with 6 NYCRR Part 502, and the floodplain management criteria for state projects. 6, the basement is proposed to be stabilized with new foundation piers and flood venting to allow for water to flow through the basement during periods of high water. 7, the basement will not house any utilities or storage. 8, any equipment will be placed at least 2 feet above the 100-year flood elevation. 9, modifying the first floor's elevation to 2 feet above the 100-year floodplain would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden. 10, if the proposed project was required to utilize the additional 2 feet of freeboard requirement per section 1612.3.1.1 of the 2020 Building Code of New York State for the first floor of the building, it would require significant structural changes to the existing walls and ceilings of the second floor and third story, which may result in the loss of the third story. Losing this third story would increase the economic burden by eliminating the income from a proposed third story apartment. 11, raising the elevation to 2 feet or more above the 100-year flood elevation would negatively impact accessibility to the building. The existing building has a sidewalk between the existing building and Salina Street, New York State Route 11, and there's not enough space to create ramps or access to a raised first floor at this location if it's constructed 2 feet or more above the 100-year flood elevation. 12, the petitioner's exhibits state that the first story was constructed 2 feet or more above the 100-year flood elevation, that the existing building would be subject to additional hydraulic pressures that the building's foundation is not designed to handle. 13, the existing basement is at elevation 340.3 plus or minus, which is approximately 10 feet below the 100-year floodplain elevation, and it is currently open to the Salmon River. Because the building's foundation is exposed, if it is completely waterproof, it could potentially cause the building to shift during periods of high water. Strict compliance, the board finds that strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden, would inhibit achievement of some other important public policy, and would be physically and legally impracticable. Wherefore, it's determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 1612.3.1.1, be and is hereby proposed to be granted. I so move. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, poll the board. Ms. Swistak,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Variance granted. This decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. This hearing is now concluded.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
And there are no other hearings, so we are off the record.